Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Crypto Canniverse. The international faith-based show serves as a hub for visionary entrepreneurs operating at the intersection of four key domains: Christ, cryptocurrency, cannabis, and CPAs. All faiths are welcome. We are here to help grow, educate, and inspire within these communities. The show is hosted by myself, Crystal Wampler, the glue that binds us together, and our spiritual leader, Alan Lau. Welcome, Alan.
Welcome.
How are you
Thank you,
doing
Chris.
today?
I'm doing fantastic. Great. The weather out there is great. Sun shines out. Love to be here. I'm very excited to hear more about Grady.
Nice. What are you celebrating?
This year we're celebrating, actually, it's Lunar New Year. So I want to give a shout out to all my Lunar New Year people in Asia, in Hong Kong, Asia, across the world, who are celebrating new calendar year and lunar. We're actually celebrating a huge Chinese New Year in our family this weekend. So Happy New Year to everybody that's on the show. May this year bring you a lot of prosperity, a lot of goodness, a lot of great things coming from above.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. What Bible verse do you have for us today?
Yes, I love this verse. This just comes from the book of Matthew. So Matthew is one of the Gospels, the very first book in the New Testament. And the verse comes from Matthew 7:7, and it says, "Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you." This is a verse that we're growing up in church. We memorize this quite a bit, is because it comes down to your prayer. And the verse is also often interpreted as a promise from God that if we ask for something with sincerity and faith, He will grant it to us. Oftentimes we are, in a place where we need to pray a lot. And are we praying for the right things? But the persistency, the consistency of the prayer always works, because God listens to every single prayer. The prayers, and He may answer at a different time, but most of the time is usually the perfect time that He answers these prayers. So don't give up on praying, because God is listening to us every single day. He knows where we are, what we're doing at all times. He has guardian angels watching over us and surrounding us, and you can feel the Spirit among us all the time. So don't lose faith and continue to pray every day, because your prayers will be answered, as long as you're praying sincerely. That's the important part.
Amen. Amen. That's a wonderful verse. It actually reminds me of a really good verse that goes along with it, and that's James 4:3. You ask and do not receive because you ask with the wrong motives, that you may
Yes.
spend what you get on your pleasure. So make sure the motivation is aligned with, God. And that's really part of the key as well. But thank you, Alan, so much for sharing that. We appreciate you. Our guest co-host today is none other than Kenneth Knoll, Crypto Kenny, father of five, an avid investor, serial entrepreneur, and the CEO of Block Safe Solutions. Welcome, Kenny.
Thank you, Crystal. It's been amazing to be here the last few weeks. I love getting on here and getting to get into these deep details and with just amazing people in the space. And I'm super excited to get to talk to Crypto Grady. We've only ever met one time in person. I believe we were in Vegas over a lunch or something. So it'll be nice to get to talk to him. I love karate combat. I'm going to ask you some sports related and MMA related questions. So wait for that here in a little bit. But yeah, it's great to be here, Crystal. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you for coming back and helping us, buckle down on some of these viewers or speakers. You've achieved success as serial entrepreneur and investor. Can you tell us some lessons that you've learned about starting and scaling your business in the tech industry?
Yeah, for sure. I actually, you know what? So Michael, one of the other people in the panel, he's actually working with BlockSafe. We're launching a series kind of talking about some of these things. And we actually just filmed an interview that's going to come out in the next couple of weeks with just me and him talking about this very thing. What is some of the best bets if you're getting into a early developing tech industry, and what are some of the things? And I could talk for 15, 20 minutes about some of these things, but I'll tell you what we really zeroed into yesterday is you got to love what you do. If you're not in a new developing tech industry because you love the tech and because you love the potential of the tech to make people's lives better, then it's everything else is going to be so much more difficult. So I mean, I think that's really the best thing. Do something that you love to do. If you're in, if you love the crypto, be in crypto and follow that path. If you're into cannabis or whatever it is, you have to love it, right? I talk to too many people too often that get into these things because they're popular or they seem like a good thing to do, but their heart's not there. And if your heart isn't there, it doesn't matter how successful you might be right at the beginning, it's never going to bring you true happiness or fulfillment or joy. So, love what you do. Number one.
That's awesome. Great advice. Thank you. All righty, you guys, here we go. Step aside, Chuck Norris. There's a new multi-talented dude in town. Please welcome Crypto Grady, a financial whiz by day, a karate kicking champion by night, and a crypto guru 24/7. He's the host of the popular show CryptosRUs, where he breaks down the crypto world with humor and insight. But when he's not trading tokens, he's trading punches in the karate combat ring, providing that brains and bronze can go in hand. More than just a fighter and financier, Crypto Grady is a community builder, spreading the message of "We are all George" with passion and purpose. So buckle up, because this interview is about to be as exciting as a flying crypto kick to the moon. Welcome, Crypto Grady.
That was so well written. Man, the amount of time you spend on this, Crystal. Wow. Let's go. Man, you're so organized in all this. Look at you go, girl. Man.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby. Yes.
Every guest she has on here says the same thing, that she is the queen of intros, the absolute queen of intros.
I love
you.
This. How did this whole show get started in the first place? How long have you been doing this? What's going on?
Yeah, so Alan and I, we launched this show about 2 years ago. And it was basically in our garage per se, because we didn't really, put it out on social media. And then, we decided, hey, well, what can we lose? Maybe we'll put it out on social media and start, sharing what we're doing. And so we decided to go on social media, and I think we're on our 90th episode.
Yeah. That is insane. Okay, we're going to work on your Twitter game. We're going to work on your social media game. We're going to grow that account. We're going to spread the love and spread the word. Let's go. Alex, I just saw you had Loudmouth on. You got Brian D. Evans coming. Man, you're getting all the big dogs in here. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, any help would be fantastic. It's just, marketing and growing my channel is definitely hard to do if you don't know how to do it.
It's a grind. It's insane.
It is. It is a grind.
There's some celebrities next, I promise you.
Oh, gosh.
Well, we did have Isaiah Thomas. He's a celebrity, and now we have Crypto Grady. I mean, he's a crypto celebrity.
Yeah.
Let's go. So if you've been doing this though in your garage for 2 years, this is your 90th episode. You're obviously passion driven. It's not, you've got a vision and you're just grinding and you're going to do your thing no matter what. That's a good place to be in right there. And you keep connecting, making the right connections, and you'll get people like Brian D. Evans to retweet this. Man, you're
people like Crypto Grady to retweet.
Oh yeah, we'll get it going today. I'm pumped. Maybe we'll get Karate Combat. We'll get Karate Combat to retweet this. Because we're gonna be talking exciting. Karate Combat, baby. Okay, let's go.
All right, I'm super excited about that. We have a few questions for you, and I know that our panel is super excited to ask you questions as well. But I know that you come from the finance background. What did you do in the financial world, and what did your parents think about you entering the crypto world?
I love it. So first of all, it's interesting. This is like a faith-based show. Okay. So I was a preacher for like 2 decades, hardcore street preacher, missionary guy. That's a really long story. We probably don't want to peel that too much. But I was like your rogue, hardcore street preaching maniac guy out there. So of course, being like kind of counterculture, we come across Bitcoin. 2015, really 2013 was going to start mining Bitcoin, and it just didn't happen for no reason. I had started an insurance company. I was a business guy, had a construction company, main bread and butter though, car dealership, insurance company, Golden Rule Insurance Associates. And that blew up. That was my main bread and butter. And okay, long story there. And my story is a little bit from rags to riches back to
Let's hear it.
rags. Here we go. We're back to rags, baby. Okay. So I sold the insurance company. Gosh, it's been a couple years ago now. It's so weird. Time is wild. So my parents, though, well, that's a funny one. Because I'm the kind of guy, I'm a billboard guy telling everybody to get Bitcoin back in the day. And my parents actually, I got them into crypto, but they thought I was crazy. We had so many conversations and debates, but hey, they bought some Bitcoin, they bought some Ethereum and did well with it. Back in 2017 is when they bought some. And so,
Nice.
yep. And then my mom still kind of trades it like on a Robinhood app. So, and she's always telling me Bitcoin's pumping, or whatever, she'll message me. Okay. So, oh, it's so crazy. So there's that. We'll leave it there for now.
Okay, that sounds good. So
Yeah.
your preaching, your street preaching, is that how you know loudmouth?
No. Okay.
No.
Okay. I was the preacher. We had started a couple little mini movements, even real small, that kind of blew up, went through it, the crazy ups and downs of that. And then, really started several, like where you get broken down and then you get more seasoned, more mature in the faith and things. Well, it kept happening where I got so disillusioned with my faith. I just kind of was like, God, I'm done with this. And this was like back in 2011, 2012, and was married, 5 kids. Okay. At the time, had like the model family. Then, it's such a my story is so crazy. It would take days, literally days, to try and explain everything. But eventually divorce came, and that was brutal. And by then I was like full blown atheist. Okay.
Wow.
And first woman I ever kissed in my life was my wife on the wedding day, and had a rough time with that though. Okay. So, and so I was so desperate for a girl, I remember, and I was like atheist mode and went through quite a long season of eventually figuring that out and hooking up with all kinds of girls all the time in the midst of that, other things going. Okay. And then years later, and again, the breaking continues and life is just crazy.
Forging in fire.
Yeah. And fire, to say the least. And always, battled suicide a lot my whole life. So I was so hardcore in my faith, even in high school. It was like, you're better off to have a millstone hung around your neck and be drowned in the depths of the sea than to lead one of these little ones astray. And in my mind, like, hey, if I give a false witness for Jesus, I'd be better off dead. And so I would go deep down these dark paths. I was such a hardcore, like borderline perfectionist guy.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure for sure.
Yeah. And so, man, and that developed all kinds of crazy mindsets through that. And, was so hardcore, would fasted for 40 days twice, memorized the New Testament, sold everything I owned twice, gave it all away, so that kind of, would pray on my knees in the closet every day for 4 to 6 hours a day.
Wow.
For years, would go street preaching every single day. I would carry around a burden of like, if I walk by somebody and I don't tell them about Jesus, or at least give them like a gospel tract or something, their blood is on my head. So I would never, for years, wouldn't even go, if I walk by somebody in a grocery store, gospel tract, just constant. And so it's just such a grind though, through that. And eventually you just spin out of control with that. And so, such a long story. Well,
no, it's a great story. Thank you for sharing.
And would often go through these crazy manic bipolar cycles my whole life. I'm a total manic, all or nothing type guy. And so real crazy long story that we're going to skip, but got to where it was like about 2 to 2.5 years ago, it was like I died. My spirit and my soul died. And I didn't hardly get out of bed for 2 years straight.
Wow.
It was like my body's still here, but I'm not. It's like I died and I was supposed to be dead in my mind the whole time. And even when
Wow.
I started the YouTube channel, which is only, I don't know, how long is this? Like a year and a half ago. That was the only time it would be like I turn on the screen and I come alive again. So it was interesting. And I was doing a lot of content for Defi Kingdoms, which is, and they have an Avalanche subnet, the DFK chain.
Yeah.
So, and all the things going on there, that's a long story. But I just noticed I would come back alive when I'm streaming and get my mojo back, my magic. I'm like your soul power mojo magic guy, but just a hint of it would start coming back, but still
Wow.
constantly dealing with all the crazy ups and down, manic, this, that, and the other. And thought in my mind, like I still am a mess, by the way. I didn't open my mail. I still haven't hardly opened my mail in 2 years, just a head case mess. And so in the midst of that, all the ups and downs, and I'm connecting with George, magic's happening. We got DeFi Kingdoms on the next Crypto Gem TV show and making all kinds of connections, connecting a lot with George with CryptosRUs. Okay. And things like that. Going to conferences, connect with Loudmouth. You just mentioned that. Okay. And started connecting with him. And that's a real interesting story, almost a testimony, we could maybe say, meeting him, connecting with him. And we connected a few times and with his wife as well, Nicole. Okay. And so then we go to Cypherpunk. This is just a few months back in Miami, Cypherpunk. And I bunked with Loudmouth. And I went from, and I don't know what it was. So I had gone from like hardcore Jesus freak to pretty hardcore atheist to then Jesus brought me back. It was like a miracle. This was like four-ish years ago.
Wow.
To then just getting devastated and crushed for multiple different reasons. That's like when I died and battled with every second of every day, just wanting to be dead all the time, even when I would be pretty open about it, even on my YouTube channel. And so it's like therapy or something for me. Well,
Yeah.
I bunk with Loud, and I still to this day, honestly, can't explain it. It's like I got washed. My mind got washed and haven't since then hardly, maybe here and there, just a touch here and there, still struggle, but haven't really struggled with wanting to be dead every second, every day since. And so that's
amazing.
Right. And I thought, okay, whoa, Jesus is going to come meet me, had all this vision. And then I went and stayed with him and it was really good. But I'm still in this place of like, I don't know what's going on. But I do know this is that was like a washing for me. That's all I know. And so waiting, and it's like even literally before we started this stream, I felt like I was wrestling with God. All these crazy battles we go through in life. And so I'm open, but I want it to be real. And so
That's the most important point.
Yeah, right.
Being real, showing up, showing people who you are and your struggles and letting them, learn from you and kind of, being able to help one another. It's so important. And the fact that you woke up and got online and walked through that door that God was opening for you, even though you didn't, believe and you were, an atheist at that time, you still got up, you walked through the door, and then he led you to Loudmouth, and kind of brought you back in a sense.
In a sense. So, in the new covenant and in scripture, it's like we're supposed to have a relationship with Jesus that's real and authentic. And that's what, it's like, I'm not even going to try to follow him. I used to be strength in the flesh, Mr. Strength in the flesh, uh, real deal, non-hypocritical, but it's, the law takes over where it becomes, you're trying to follow him out of I want it just to, the promises of the new covenant to be real. And so, and until that happens, I'm just kind of like, I don't know even what to do or what to think, because so I'm not going down the road of like this absolute hardcore, cynical, skeptical path that I went down also, where I was like hardcore atheist. So I've kind of like learned both, it's like, I'm just waiting. I don't even know what is up. I don't know anything about anything. That's about all I know. So life's been crazy.
That's one of the hardest things to ever admit. You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know anything about everything.
Right.
And once you're able to do that, like I think things get more comfortable once you're able to identify the fact that, there's some things you can control, there's some things you can't, and you just keep on doing the best thing that you know how to do in the process, right?
What's the verse that the man who claims to know something does not yet know as he ought to know? It's like,
that's a good one. We're gonna have to look that one up.
Yeah. So
real quick, I want to interrupt temporarily because Grady, it really speaks to me what you said, how like when in that tribulation where like you had sort of lost the energy and you'd fallen off the motive, but then when you got that Crypto Grady magic, when you put out on content and you like came back live, and it feels to me, and right, I don't want to make any assumptions or extrapolate out anything that's not valid, but it seems to me based on my experiences that was like you had stepped away from God's calling for your life, and then every time you purposely and intentionally put yourself back in the calling for your life, that's when you would get a taste of that divinity, and you'd feel the energy of, hey, this is actually my calling, this is the path I'm supposed to be on. That's what it feels like to me, right? And I like that.
That's well said, because that might be true, because I know this, the core values of the golden rule are so deeply ingrained in my DNA. Looking out for the best interests of others, even over your own best interests. It's the key to success in life. You do unto others as you would have them do unto you. There's so many people in this world that think they get ahead by being dogs, and like, you got to step over other people to get ahead. It's a zero-sum game. In order to win, someone else has to lose. These mindsets that people have, they don't get it. I mean, just even taking Jesus out of the equation, you just don't get it. The key to success in life and business and relationships and friendships is by treating others the way you would want to be treated. You gain a reputation, you gain trust, a reputation that, people want to do business with you because you do them right. You actually look out for their best interest, and you get that type of reputation. That's how you want to build a business, for example. These core values, it's like people don't get it. And I'm so like an alien in this world still, I feel like. And with the way people function, oftentimes it is disturbing, this world we live in. If people could just get the golden rule, that sums up the whole law. This sums up the whole law, according to Jesus. You look out for that's the reason why the law exists, the golden rule. You look out for others' best interest. You love others, aka love. That's the building blocks that we want to build our life on, our foundation, our business, whatever it is we're doing. If that is and that's what I look for in crypto projects. People that have a strong why. They're not money driven. They have a passion for what they're doing. They're not trying to just make a quick buck, and they actually have a vision and a passion for whatever it is they're trying to do. This project they're building, a game they're building, whatever it is they're doing, they're passion driven. They've got a vision and a focus, and it's not about making the money. Not about, it's not wrong to make money. I made millions and millions and millions of dollars in my company, Golden Rule Insurance Associates. How did I do that? I did it by following the Golden Rule. And then everybody wanted to do business with me because I grinded. I looked out for their best interest. I had tons of companies. I gave them the best rates, the best service, the best advice, the best coverage, and actually helped them. If I couldn't help them, I'd give them advice on where else they can go and do business with somebody else that was better, and then guess what? I would get referrals, and I blew up. And that's how I was a number one sales guy. I mean, that's how this works. But it's a long grinding road. It's not a quick, same with car dealers. Why are car dealers always look like, they've got such a bad rep of being shady? Well, that's because most of them are shady. They think in their mind, for example, I get a car from a shady car dealer who didn't tell me it had a bad transmission. Well, I know the tricks. I can make it look like it doesn't have a bad transmission. You put the stuff in there. Okay. You sell the car. Oh, that just saved me $1,000. Looking at the 5 minutes in front of my face, right? I won. And in their mind, oh, I did a doggy dog move, right? Is that a win? I just made an extra $1,000. Well, okay, let's just, even taking Jesus out of the equation, let's just go pragmatic here. Okay, what happens when you do that? That person's going to know, they're going to find out that you sold them a car with a bad transmission. What's that going to do to your reputation? What's that going to do to your eBay score, for example? They're going to give you a bad feedback. Are other people going to want to do business with me in the future? No. So what do? I spend the extra $1,000. That thing's sitting on my lot for an extra 6 months. The value of the car even goes down, but I fixed it. I did what's right, kept 100% positive feedback on eBay. Okay. And so then your reputation just builds and builds and builds. Then people trust you to buy a car from you. That's how this works. That's why all these car dealers, they're always broke. They put out an image that they're not. Most car dealers are broke because they've screwed everyone over. Nobody wants to do business with them. So then they have to move to a new city to just find new prey that they can prey on. It's such a shady, there's so many like this, but when you find the guys that are trustworthy, ooh, it's so easy to win. It's so easy. You'll be the best. You'll have the best car dealership. Everyone's going to want to do business with you. All the other car dealers will respect you because they know you won't take advantage of them. They'll trust your word. Your word will mean something. Like, hello, people. It's like, and it's so interesting that people don't understand that that's how you get ahead. You don't get ahead by these mindsets that people get of trying to be a dog and be better and step over others. And no, you bring others in, you build them up, and then you work with them and you grow your connections that way. It's like, come on.
Long-term relationships always trump short-term games.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. Relationships over transactions, 100%.
100%, not being transactional. That's
Exactly. I love that, leading with love and, doing to others as you'd have them do unto you. That's what's ultimately helped you build, the followers that you have. You have an insane amount of followers and, probably what helped you to, become a host on CryptosRUs. Can you tell our viewers what CryptosRUs is?
So George's main channel is CryptosRUs. He's one of the biggest crypto YouTubers in the entire space. He's got 100,000 people watching him every day. Then he's got another channel called CryptosRUs Plus. And George does some content there, and I'm a host there, which I've pressed pause, taking a break for this fight, but I'm actually prepping a video for today that we'll be putting on there for the fight. So that he started this influencers fight club where he connected with Karate Combat, with the help of all kinds of different people in the space, Adam Charles and Loudmouth and Seth with Mind Your Biz, some of these different guys. And they figured out, let's do the influencers fight club, where different influencers out there doesn't necessarily, it's crypto influencers mostly, but it could be any influencer. And, and I think it's a big win-win. It helps Karate Combat, which is growing like crazy. We can talk about that. Let's talk some Karate Combat, but it also, yeah, so fun what George has going here with CryptosRUs Plus and how it all is interconnecting. So Karate Combat is a Web3 based now platform that is just like the UFC. It's like it's MMA, it's similar to that, except what makes it, I think, even better. I mean, some people disagree with this, but one of the things with the UFC, which is blown up, by the way, largely due, we've got Dana White and Joe Rogan really helped blow up the UFC. And it's like huge now. It way blew past boxing. Boxing used to be the thing in the 90s and early 2000s and the 80s and before that, boxing was huge. Bigger than baseball.
I used to train for the UFC.
Ooh. And
yeah,
now
I was
UFC has blown past it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dana White's done a good job. Not perfect. And
fantastic.
Joe Rogan, yeah, there's things like that. But one complaint that a lot of people get, UFC, with all the ground grappling wrestling, some people like that, actually. Some people like the jujitsu wrestling, ground stuff, which is cool. I do like that. But to be a fighter in the UFC, you have to know everything. You have to be a good,
full combat.
Just be a good wrestler. You need to be a good boxer and, fighter too. So it's like hard to be, you got to be like a well-rounded fighter. Whereas with boxing, that's just one kind of niche. Kickboxing, you throw in the legs. Then you've got Muay Thai that throws more stuff in. With karate combat, it's similar to the UFC, except there's no grappling and ground wrestling. So it's a lot more exciting to watch. And there's no leg kicks above the knee and in between your waist and knee. So, man, I actually hate seeing all the leg kicks. It like makes me cringe watching all these fights all the time. Some of these people are just destroying their legs, each other's legs, breaking shins. That still can happen with karate combat because there are calf kicks below the knee, but it just helps minimize that. There's no knees unless it's like a jumping knee. You can't grab someone's head, throw in the knee, and there's no elbows. So
that's good.
Yes, which I hate that about Muay Thai, the elbows, right? It's like, it becomes like an elbow hitting game. You're trying to like split their eye open. And so
that was one of my favorite moves.
I mean, now I've got this picture in my head of Crystal throwing bows inside the octagon, man.
Ooh.
like,
oh man, Crystal stepped into the ring.
So it's the 4-ounce gloves with karate combat, which is the same, small gloves like UFC, and kicks above the waist and below the knee, legal. If you knock them down, they did just kind of update a rule. There is ground and pound. It used to only be for 5 seconds. Now it's until the action stops. So the ref will quickly call you back up to your feet if there's not immediate action on ground and pound. And if both of the ground and pound guys' knees are on the ground, automatically called up. So both fighters cannot be on the ground. The guy pounding can have one knee or 0 knees on the ground. So it's more like on your feet action. It helps your scoring if you're the one pressuring. So if you're the one putting on pressure all the time, that's going to help your cause to win the fight. So things like that. It's like they call it the pit. It's got the 45-degree angles on the sides.
Wow.
Which is not considered the ground. So the angle part is not considered the ground also, which is interesting. So it helps with the pressuring. You want to try and get the guy to fall back on that, and you go. So
what are you doing to train for this? It's got to be insane.
Training for a fight is insane. So George did this IFC, and that actually happened. George told me about it when I was sleeping on Loudmouth's couch down there. Okay. And I was originally going to fight Crypto Crow because nobody wanted to fight him. And I said, George, I'm not scared. At the time, I was in the worst shape of my entire life. Hadn't gotten out of bed for 2 years, like muscle atrophy. My legs were like withering to nothing. I had just begun to start working out again, which just for my own mental health. Started back to CrossFit. I was a college athlete, swam for Mizzou. Okay. And still hold the Truman High School records. Who is it that's from the Kansas City area?
That's me.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, and you know, used to be in phenomenal shape, even not too long ago. CrossFit had the GQ body going, you know, all the time, but now was in the worst shape of my life. But I'm like, hey, man, you know how many people would die to get an opportunity to fight and in a high profile fight like that? We got Boss Rutan. So Karate Combat it's actually been around for a while, but it became Web3 recently, and it's really starting to take off. We got Boss Rutan, who's a part of it, who's a UFC legend. As you know, we got George St. Pierre. They're going to be the guys announcing our fights. and
Wow.
so we've got Joe Rogan keeps talking. He's talked about it multiple times. We Jake and Logan Paul talking about it. We had Nate Diaz. We got movie stars coming to these events. So the big dogs are there. You know, it's really becoming more popular, I would say. And it's still very early, though. We've gone from 5,000 users to 11,000 users in Karate Combat 43. Then they just had like a kind of like an off the cuff event in the president's mom's backyard mansion party, they called it. Like, and they had a fight there, 27,000 users last month.
Wow.
And I'll be shocked if we don't have at least 50,000 users. But here's the thing, it should have 1 million users. I mean, we're going to get to 10 million users eventually, I believe, with Karate Combat for several reasons. You get the karate token, which that's kind of where I'm going here. We're so early in this. I'm bullish on that, on the karate token. It's like a 30 or 40 million dollar market cap.
How do you get it?
Dilution. You can get it on Mexi, you can get it on KuCoin, or you just go to karate.com. This is what we all should do regardless. Go to karate.com, download the app. It's on Hedera Hashgraph. It's pretty easy. You do want to save your seed phrase. Okay, but that's like 5 minutes. You do that, you'll get 88 free karate token, and you can just immediately start betting. When you bet, it's not betting though, because when you bet, if you lose, you get all your karate token back. If you win, you get a small percentage based off the odds. So if someone's heavily favored to win and you bet for them, you're going to have like a 5% winnings, 5% of your bet. If someone's a huge underdog and you bet for the underdog and the underdog wins, you can get 20, 30%. So like if you bet 100,000 karate token, which karate is now, it's like a half a penny around there, or more, a little more than a half a penny per token. So if you bet 100,000 tokens on somebody that's heavily favored, like Sam Alvey, I bet for Sam Alvey on the last one, he won. I got 30,000 tokens on that one. That was like, but most of the time you're going to get 5 to 10,000 tokens if you're betting 100,000. So or 100 tokens, however many tokens you bet, it's a percentage. And so, man, you're in early on a project that already has the marketing out there for you. They're grinding. They're going to get more and more big names in. So Nate Diaz alluded to fighting, who beat Conor McGregor. There's Jake Paul maybe going to fight for Karate Combat. These things might become, I was hoping it would come for our fight. Didn't happen. No, not any huge names, but a lot of big fighters starting to come in and pay attention to Karate Combat. So I'm bullish on the ecosystem. So it's not a bad idea to start dollar cost averaging. If you download the app, there is a fiat entry. So you can buy that way with like maybe even a credit card with fees. So the best way probably though is to buy on Mexi or KuCoin. I would say to buy the token there. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you. Jacob, you have a question?
So actually, it was crazy enough. My question was going to be about the tokenomics behind the betting that's not traditional betting. So I love that you went there. But I did have a follow-up question, and it's like, what was the guiding factor that you woke up one day and you're like, "Yep, I'm going to be a fighter." Like,
I know. I've never even put on gloves before. Yeah, I was going to go there. Like you asked what, but it was like, it's such a good opportunity to get out. I'm going to be out there with the legend himself, Boss Rutan, and I already was, and George St. Pierre. How could I pass that up? And so I've got such a crazy past. It's like, bring it on. Let's go. Put me in the pit. I want my blood on the mat. Let's go, baby. That's my mindset. So I'm not scared. That's why I told George, hey, I'll fight Crow if you can't find anybody to fight him. But they found Moon Daddy, by the way, who's a former NFL player. Awesome dude, heart of gold. Love these guys. On the card, we've had a couple here lately kind of fall out, and that's normal with fights. Fighting, prepping for a fight is nuts. It's nuts. It's a lonely road. You're never going to be as ready as you want to be. Your cardio is never going to be where you want it to be. Nothing, it doesn't work out. And all the demons come in and say, you suck. And you know why you suck? Because you suck. And you can't, what are you doing? You can't do this. You're going to get in there and get your ass kicked. And all the thoughts that, one day I'll go spar and I kick everyone's ass and I'm ready to go fight Tyson Fury. Bring it on. And then the next day I go spar and get my ass kicked. And it's like, can I even fight at all? You go through all these crazy mind, tricks, and that's the life of the fighter. It's lonely, especially if you don't have a coach that's super interconnected with you. Okay. Which I don't. And I've got a good coach, but not real connected. So it's hard you got to be self-motivated, and then you're going to not be where you want to be. It's just part of the deal. I think this is what all fighters go through. I've studied this. There's oftentimes fighters back out of fights. They give up. They make up excuses in their mind to back out because, the reality of it, they're going to be in the bright lights in front of everybody like a deer in headlights, and it hits them. And then they get discouraged and they find excuses to back out or make up injuries. It's so common. And so for me, I just knew, though, from day one, even if I'm completely fat and out of shape, which I've gone from 254 pounds to 218. And interesting, I'm back up to 233. All the inflammation. It's so weird. When I train, I've been training sometimes 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 hours a day trying to get, and I'm still suck. I still can't get back in shape, damn it. And so it's brutal that, trying to get ready. But I don't know. I just kind of realized, hey, why didn't I do this 20 years ago? I probably would have dominated the pit or the ring or whatever. So, I'm just kind of, you only live once, make the most of it. Let's go. Especially.
That's super exciting. Go ahead, Kenneth.
Yeah. So I like this subject. So I've been a combat sports fan since I was 3 years old, man. I was, karate and jujitsu and kickboxing and all this stuff going through years. I remember watching Royce Gracie fight back, way back in the day. And then, Boss Rutan. Boss Rutan's a badass. Absolute amazing character. George St. Pierre's my favorite fighter of all time. So I love that these guys are involved with this. I think it's amazing. So I guess I would ask you, and this comes with, so currently BlockSafe is working with some clients that I'm under NDA, so I can't really talk a whole lot about it, but that's representing some very high profile MMA fighters, right? And I would like to get your ideas of for sports in general, but specifically for combat sports, like what do you see the value of blockchain technology being integrated in these types of sports? Like, where do you see that going, and the value to not only the fighters or the players, but to the customers, the consumers of the stuff? Like, maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, there's so much that goes into having a token to bet with, which the way they get around it not being a bet is that it's up only gaming. You don't lose, you only gain. Now, a lot of people have brought up tokenomics issues, which is true, long term. Once this thing blows up and there's millions of users on the app, okay, using that, but I think they already have plans for that. Burning, there's different governance, more utility for the token, and more things that they're going to figure out with that down the road. Right now, not a huge issue. There is, there is a token unlock coming up in May that's pretty hefty, but I think just the amount of new users will, in the long run, through this bull run at least, help offset that. It's so early. I really think with all the people talking about it, Joe Rogan and everyone, and here's what Joe Rogan talked about is you have a token you bet with the fighters. If you win, you get a percentage you get 9% of the tokens bet on you. Okay. And so it helps you grow your brand. There's so many different things you can use that's utility down the road to having a tokenized, it just makes the most sense. And there's nobody else doing it. So for so many reasons, I think Karate Combat's a winner long term for so many reasons. Yeah.
And I think that's an amazing point you brought up because, we've heard over the years in combat sports where a lot of athletes will come out publicly and talk about for the work that they're putting in and the risks they're taking, they're just not compensated properly. And I think the idea of that, could you imagine if based on how many bets were placed for you, if a fighter could take a certain cut of that, like how much better the sport itself would be in. And I think that's amazing. And I'm right there with you, man. Like I'm super excited for some of the clients we're working with to try to get into that field. But I think that sporting is something that a lot of people are overlooking when it comes to utilization of blockchain tech. And I really think it's going to be a diamond in the rough during this next bull cycle. So
that's right. And you don't even have to worry about the betting, commissions. It's most of the betting platforms won't work in crypto for that very reason, because, all the legal issues with each and every state, it's a nightmare. But with this, you're not betting, you don't lose. And so it's much easier to have adoption. It's instant utility, no brainer. It's like a no brainer to at least DCA a little bit into, and bet. And it's like a form of staking, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, and there's governance. So it's like the token owners are also the owners of the platform. So if you want rule change, it happened last month. We just had a big rule change. There's no more 5-second rule on the ground. So that was like a big deal. How do you vote for that? You buy the token, things like that. You control the league.
Yeah. And that's amazing as well, because also you look at problems with the general public, like with the UFC, for example, there have been rules that have been frowned upon by the general public for a decade.
Right.
And most of those never get changed, right? Even at the behest of the viewership. And so to have that mechanic in place is very interesting. And I think that's awesome.
Yep. Yeah. Joe Rogan. That was his point. What's that? Go ahead.
It's really interesting because I do a lot of stuff with entertainment. And when you think about co-creation of entertainment with your community, it's usually like, hey, we can write a script together. Maybe we can make a film or we could do a comic book, but this is also entertainment. And you're using those same kind of community build out in the open methods to be able to, with the rules. And I think that's a really interesting aspect and something that a way to do things outside of your traditional entertainment that you see in the Web3 space, but still really involve the community at deep levels. And I think that's really cool.
I love it. Tell me, what is BlockSafe? What is BlockSafe? Quick.
The best.
Yeah.
So full service Web3 development company.
Okay. Yeah. So we basically build platforms, applications, dexes, marketplaces. We build anything that for startups in the space, and then we also assist Web 2 based companies that want to add blockchain components to their already existing systems. So that's basically what we do. Is we're here at the brick and mortar. We're trying to build, help crypto build at a faster pace. So
I love it.
Hey, sorry to interrupt, but Mosh, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. So Grady.
Yeah.
I know a friend of mine that really heavily supports like H-Bar and Karate Combat, and he put me on to Karate Combat for the app and stuff like as well.
Okay.
So appreciate him for it. My question for you is, so where did the inspiration for Karate Combat come from, for one? And then two, like, I know when I first joined, I was kind of skeptical because it's like, hey, you can place these bets and stuff, but you don't lose. How did that actually turn out to be the case and actually make it work? Because I know a couple other people have tried to do the same exact thing and it hasn't worked out as much for them.
Yeah, it has to have adoption or it will literally just go to zero. The coin will just keep dumping, dump central. So the the platform is so well built out. It's, first class events. These events, we've got big movie stars there. I was there, Karate Combat 43 in Vegas. It was a blast. It was a big show put on. And so, with all the big people there, I was standing right there next to Nate Diaz at the pit side, baby, watching the fights that are awesome. I think the fighting format, there's going to be a lot more fighters that are more open to it because it doesn't say, I don't want to go fight UFC. I'm not a wrestler. I mean, I could try, I could go for it, but it's like, gosh, dang it. I'm 42 years old. Do I want to get an elbow, get pummeled on the ground because I'm not a wrestler? I've been learning a little jujitsu here lately. I'm strong enough to be one. My
You got
fights
your
probably,
armbar?
oh my gosh, all that kind of stuff. I hate that. Even the thought of being all on top of somebody, my sweat like crazy, be ugh. But hey, karate, and you get older, your knees aren't as strong, things like that. So, you know, I like the idea of boxing or karate combat more. And I think there'll be a lot more people who could have been greats in the UFC that maybe weren't a great because of that ground component. And I think it's going to bring in the long run more interest because of that pressure aspect. It's more fun to watch. Some of these fights in the UFC I'm watching, I'm like, oh, they're on the ground again. Click, 10 seconds, click, 10 seconds. I'm like skipping all the ground parts because it's so boring. I want to see the action. I think a lot of people agree with that.
But how
So,
would somebody like Mike Tyson do in karate combat?
yeah, see, he would have been awesome. A boxer can totally succeed. Or a karate guy, and a wrestler can still be good because you still do get points for throwing people down. So it does, it kind of still brings in, but it's not as ideal for a wrestler, obviously. But hey, it's still good for a wrestler because that still comes into play. You just can't get on the ground and try and submit them. So
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can get you an introduction to Mike Tyson, and you can try to convince him to come on the show. One of my friends, my good friends, has him as a client, so I'll see
no
what I can do about that. That would be
I
really
met
cool.
somebody that same at one of the parties that I was at that Mike Tyson was supposed to be there. He's probably my number one guy. I watched a documentary of him training the guy that just fought Tyson. And then I forgot how to pronounce his name, but man, that documentary, it's like 50 minutes long. I watched it 6 times yesterday because he's actually goes through his footwork and training. Then Ganyu, whatever the guy's name is, that just fought Tyson Fury, should have won that fight. So Mike Tyson's my guy. So having that dog, I mean, just one thing about the fight is this is where I knew that I'm like, yeah, George, didn't even think twice about it. I'll fight just because I know there's a demon inside of me and I can just click him right out. And that's what Mike Tyson had. He just had that, you know, he had
Yeah.
that. He had the it factor.
So
And
do you know, Grady? Do you have they solidified your opponent yet, or is
uh-huh.
that something? Oh, so who are you fighting? Yeah, so
Two
tell us
weeks
about that.
from today, 2 weeks from today, we're going to be fighting in Mexico City. It's coming fast. Grimace, Eric Veely. He's a boxer. He's done Crypto Fight Night twice. He's 2-0. So he's a boxer. He's in the best shape of his life. Just saw before we streamed. Man, he's looking good. He throws some good haymakers. He's got a good hard punch. So we're going to be two heavyweights in there throwing some slobber knockers, baby. That's what we're going to be doing in there. Pumped.
That's awesome. We have time for a couple more questions.
I have a big follow-up, actually. This one's
Okay.
going to be a clippable moment. Someone out here watching this, maybe even fictitiously me, I did 75 hard 3 times in 2023. I lost 54 pounds. I'm in the peak physical shape of my life. What is the onboarding process for someone that intends to maybe be a fighter for karate combat? And then a second part to that question, you know, in your opinion, what would the optimal fighting form that you're particularly practicing be to come into a combat sport like karate combat? Would it be? It wouldn't be BJJ, obviously. It might not be wrestling, but where would they want to come in?
So first of all, I've never fought for sport ever. I've only once in my entire life put on boxing gloves when I was like in the 7th grade. I boxed for like 1 minute, my Samoan buddy in junior high. So, and had never even stepped foot into a gym like that. Never stepped foot. And it's like, bring it on. So first of all, we're looking for 3 replacements right now. Shiny D, who's an influencer, he more on Twitter, was fighting Crypto Seth. Crypto Seth's coach said, hey, you only weigh 150. Shiny D's at 180. Are you sure you want to fight this fight? He backed out. It was like, oh, just happened a couple days ago. They're both looking for a replacement. So Seth, Crypto Seth, someone around 150. He's never fought before for sport, hardly. He's done a little boxing. He's 19 years old. He's a stud, though, for 150, I think. Shiny D, who's a maniac, crazy guy, hilarious, fun, wild. He's a wild man, but he's never fought for sport. You know, we're all just in there trying to figure this out. But man, he's in hella good shape. He's 180. We need to find a replacement like ASAP. We've got.
What's the plus or minus on the weight classes?
See, I don't even care. It's kind of like, who cares? They make such a big deal about it. Like, okay. I don't care. Grimace, if you weigh 300 pounds, great. If you weigh 200 pounds, great. You know, that, but so I don't think.
Are you thinking about it, Jacob? Are you going to step in?
It's on the undercard in 2 weeks in Mexico City. I'm 193 right now. I could do a little bit of a cut. That's not.
You don't need to cut. No, 193 Shiny D would take it. Let's go. No, seriously, right after this, we got to hit up George.
Okay.
And you're going to be fighting in front of Boss Rutan. So you get your name out there. If you're trying to build a brand, you make connections, you know.
I'm betting on you, Jacob. So,
hey, you're going to be right there in the Karate Combat app where people can bet their karate token on you. So,
bet on yourself.
if you get knocked out, who cares? Like, you know, people, they get hard on themselves when, you know, you're wrestling with your demons. I suck. I can't do this. You suck. And you know why you suck? Because you suck. You're going to get knocked out. Well, who cares? Knock me out. Great. It'll be memeable. I got my ass knocked out. Who cares? People make
just have fun and do it.
Let's go, baby. I want to donate my blood on the mats. I've got a plan for this fight, and it's to get punched in the mouth. Let's go, baby. That's why we got to reel in Mike Tyson. Let's get Mike Tyson into karate combat. I would love that. That would be like a dream come true.
That would be amazing. As soon as we get off the phone, I'm gonna set that up.
We'll do a documentary with Mike Tyson. I actually caught this idea yesterday. Let's go, baby.
That's awesome. Okay. All right, you guys, that's we are all out of time for today, but Crypto Grady, where can people reach out and connect with you at?
YouTube, Crypto Grady. We got CryptosRUs Plus, and on Twitter at Crypto Grady, the #1. So we didn't get to hear a peep from Russ, from Amanda, from Tom in the house.
You struck a chord with so many people that it was hard to talk this time around.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Crypto Grady. We really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. Alan, we have about 30 seconds. Could you wrap up in prayer? And then if everybody would stay on the call for just a few minutes so that we can have our other thought leaders introduce themselves, that would be amazing.
All right, let's bow our heads and pray. Dear God, thank you so much for another great show, wonderful show put together by all of us who are here to learn from each other, to grow with each other, inspire each other. Thank you for Crypto Grady coming on the show to share about their token, share about their network, and continue to inspire us as we continue to learn about this technology and help each other grow. We know that you're in our midst. We know as we can consistently pray to you and ask for and keep seeking, keep knocking on our door, that you will provide, and you will provide at this perfect time. let us not lose faith in anything that we do. Let us continue to help each other and pray for people out in Asia that's celebrating Chinese New Year. May you protect them, bless them, and may this year of the dragon bring everyone great fortune and prosperity and peace in their lives. In Jesus' name, pray, amen.
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 And may
Amen.
God let
Amen.
Crypto Grady win.